UFC 275 has come and gone, and damn, this was a great card. Like straight up, I don't have any real complaints. I mean, it had the perfect combination of everything you want. We had our controversy, we had our bad fights, so to speak, to let us appreciate the good fights. I guess we lacked like a super cool submission, I suppose. I think in general we kind of lacked submissions on this card because I think the main event was the only one, right? Yeah. The no hook rear naked choke, which in itself is actually very very cool, but like it kind of lacked a I don't know, like I don't want to say a twister because that's going too far, but like something really really cool. We did lack that, but otherwise we had multiple fight of the year contenders in a normal year on the same card. Joanna versus Wele was fantastic. Yuri versus Glover was fantastic. Very good. Amazing fight. And further on down the card, we still had some good stuff. Like we had some great star-making performances, or at least elevating performances from Jake Matthews and Josh Kubau. We got a body shot knockout. You know I always love those. Mahachete looks pretty good. And then you had Kwai Kang versus Danan Bachari. That was actually pretty solid. We had a knockout by Sylvia Gomez Juarez, which I guess doesn't really answer any of the questions I have long-term about her as a fighter. Like, it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's cool that you got a knockout, but we have a real question of, does that actually fix the problem that you've lost your first two fights by having terrible grappling instincts? I don't know. But it still was cool to see. And yeah, sure, Brendan Allen versus Jacob Mulcoon. That kind of sucked. Jocelyn Edwards versus Ramona Pasquale. Fairly forgettable. And then we had the controversy of the co-main event. I'm going to try something interesting here today. So, when I'm reviewing Valentina Shevchenko versus Talia Santos, I'm actually going to watch the fight. I've got the recap, the rebroadcast up, the on-demand function, and I'm going to watch the fight and see if my thoughts on it change particularly. We'll talk about that more in detail when we get there. But let's talk about the main event, which was Yuri Procházka versus ya boy Glover Teixeira, and Glover is still, or no, Glover is has lost the belt, but is still relevant. Like that's the thing is he went out there, he hurt Yuri on the feet a number of times. He had a couple of interesting submission attempts, moments where he could have gotten the fight done, moments where things could have happened, to the point where like I woke up this morning like, is Glover still the champion? And then I remembered he did get submitted with a no hooks rear naked choke at the end of the fight. It was fantastic. It was honestly amazing. Both guys hurting each other multiple times. The flaws of their games on display. The defensive lackingness of their striking on display. But also their exceptional toughness, recoverability, and adjustability. They didn't keep doing the same thing that was getting them hurt. They did try to adapt and overcome. So this was phenomenal. This was my fight of the night. This is my fight of the year, probably. I'm throwing that around without like really thinking about what happened this year, but man, that was amazing. It had everything you could want in the fight. In the end, Yuri does take the win. He's your champion. For how long? I don't know. I've kind of said this in my prediction video. Yuri Procházka has an amazing physical upside. His explosiveness, his power, his crazy mindset that mixes with that are all phenomenal and make him this exciting, dare I say, one-of-a-kind fighter. That mix of insanity, physicality, and just it's going to be exciting. That being said, there is a complete lack of like thought on defense from him that I've said it, and it almost happened in this fight, is going to get him finished at some point. Not necessarily in a fight that he's even per se losing, or a fight that he should lose, but just he is going to get caught at some point. It's pretty much unavoidable. And the question is, when does that happen? I don't really think his next fight will be that, because if the UFC is to be believed, and we know that a large problem with the UFC is that what Dana says actually doesn't hold any kind of weight. And that is that we're going to get the winner of Magomed Ankalaev and Anthony Smith against Yuri Procházka for the 205 title. And to me, Anthony Smith kind of has not the right physicality to necessarily exploit the problems that Procházka has. And Ankalaev, frankly, is a little bit too structured. Like, ironically, I think the as much as I'm normally all about the process-driven fighter, the structural fighter who's going to win a fight minute by minute by minute and has a game plan for that and has the structure, the technicality to get that done. I think, ironically, the problem when you're fighting Procházka, who's just a complete wild man, is that often his biggest problems are when someone else is getting wild against him and catches him in the chaos. I'm not necessarily sure Ankalaev is a guy who would thrive in that kind of scenario. That being said, if that is the fight we get, and I would really prefer Yuri versus Jan, but that's just me. But if I have a second pick, then yeah, the Ankalaev fight would be great, or a rematch of this Glover fight, which would also be fantastic. For Glover, where does he go from here? He's still absolutely in the mix. I mean, 42 years old, looks like he's going to continue on. This was arguably one of the best fights he's had in a long time. I had him up 3-1 at the time of the stoppage. I believe I gave him 1, 2, and 4. I think it was the third round. I think I gave Yuri, but it might have been the second round. It's a little hazy in that regard. But yeah, this is a fight that I think we're going to rewatch a number of times over the years to come, and it was phenomenal. It was absolutely fantastic on a night that capped off an amazing night of fights. And I don't usually get this hyped and excited about this, but like, this card's top was absolute fire, and the prelims, I think, generated a fair amount of interest. So, like, okay, I've talked about what's next for Yuri, and of course, being the champion, it's kind of easy to determine that because there's usually a fair amount of logic towards who gets a title shot. We're going to talk about that later, though. And for Glover, I kind of want to see him fight Dominic Reyes because I think it would just be a good fight. Like, it's not a fight that makes any like inherent amazing sense. Reyes is coming off losses against the former champion. That doesn't necessarily make sense. It's also not necessarily a fight that asks the right questions of Reyes, but it's a fight I want to see happen. And at this point, we're kind of at the point where, like, again, Glover in his 40s, every fight that I want to see him in is the fight that I'm going to call for. And who else at the top of the division that he hasn't fought do I honestly want to see him fight? It's a pretty short list. So give me Dominic Reyes versus Glover Teixeira, please. All right, let's talk about the co-main. So before I hit play here, and I'll be starting from the... What do I have it paused at here? I have it paused at right when they're coming to the referee to get their instructions. So if you want to watch with me, feel free, because I mean, kind of like the MMA depressed us, I think that's probably the way to go. And we're going to try and score this fight. Now, watching it live, I scored 1, 2, and 3 for Santos, 4 and 5 for Shevchenko. And my logic was largely based on the grappling success that Talia Santos had when Shevchenko refused to stop engaging in the clinch with her. Now, the judges' scorecards in the actual fight were obviously for Shevchenko, and I don't have a problem with the 48-47 Shevchenko card that gave her the third round, because my memory, we'll see if this holds through, was that Shevchenko did dominate the striking when she was willing to stay at range. Maybe dominate is the wrong word, but she definitely was winning. She was landing more volume. She was landing with a little bit more impact and easily won the fight up until ending up on the ground being controlled. But here's the thing, is that outside of the clash of heads between Santos and Shevchenko, I don't think a ton of damage was done in this fight. Now, there's a lot of debates on Twitter and whatever, various social medias. One guy who was like, well, Shevchenko won the first round. He's trying to defend the 49-46 card by landing strikes while Santos was on her back. Here's the thing. Those are not really damaging strikes. They're not impactful. They're not significant. They're not they're not damage. And it's kind of weird, like we're in this era of like emphasizing damage to try to get rid of volume striking and pitter patter ground and pound, but we want to reward the person who is landing really nothing while the person is controlling them on their back. So I don't know. We'll see, because I'm allowing for the idea that some of my pro Santos scoring was based on shock value. We've never seen Valentina have this happen, so we make a bigger deal of it. Kind of like when Jennifer Maia won a round against her and everybody went insane. It really wasn't terribly predictive of the fight or the career of Valentina or what was to come, but because it was shocking, it seemed very important. And maybe it just won't on the rewatch. We will see. Judging criteria for a quick recap is damage, effective striking, effective grappling, and then we get to control at that point. So generally, you shouldn't win a fight on control, but you can win a fight on control, depending on the other things being just absent. So let's get this on. I'm going to watch this. Hopefully it doesn't record the sound, because that might be a copyright problem. But I am listening. Here we go. Let's put her up in full screen here. Referee reading out the rules. Here we go. Valentina Shevchenko, Taila Santos for the title. Or Taila Santos, pardon me. I've got the commentary on, so that might be misleading, but we'll find out. So we start the first round here. Shevchenko with the low kick, so puts her ahead for the time being by virtue of having landed a strike. Still feeling out there. Had a swiping kick at the leg that didn't really land. Fake Superman punch that she kind of abandoned. Still not much. Santos still hasn't done anything, so by default, Shevchenko's winning. Another leg kick. Santos comes forward, gets clipped with a counter. So again, still looking good. Probably the most significant thing that's landed so far. But we're on 3 strikes. Santos lands a leg kick, so she opens up her account. We're on 3 strikes to 1 strike here. There's not much to talk about from a scoring standpoint. Range-finding kick there by Shevchenko. Not much to talk about still. A lot of movement from Santos. She's pawing out there with the jab, but she's not really throwing anything. Big overhand right misses for Valentina. Another low kick from Santos. Still favoring Valentina, obviously. Landed the best shots, landed more shots. Santos still just effectively hasn't done much. We got a couple of low kicks, nothing much more. A lot of movement, feinting. She's trying to get Shevchenko to engage, I think, so she can imply. Spinning back kick doesn't land from Shevchenko. Rush forward from Santos. Not much landed there. We're in the clinch. We're against the cage. Here's where things are going to get interesting. Valentina's got her against the cage. She's outpositioned her so far. Hand fighting. Not a ton going on still. So far, Shevchenko is winning. But she hasn't done anything significant. Knee there by Shevchenko to the head. Okay. Like, there's not a lot here. There's not a lot of damage, I would say. Not a lot of terribly significant strikes. Knee to the body from Valentina. Santos is starting to panic a little bit. She's starting to push the head. Gets hit by another knee. There's a knee by Santos. Not much on it, though. I would say like Shevchenko's knees have been better. Knee to the thigh. Not much there. Herzog with a warning for something. Not entirely sure what. Here we go. Still in the clinch. I think, if I recall correctly, this is where the takedown's going to come in. We're over halfway through the first round. Shoulder strikes from Valentina. Those are not terribly... There's something. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do them, but it's not significant. All right, so this first round is going a little bit better for Valentina than I was thinking. I for some reason remembered I remembered way more top control time, and now we have the back control here for Santos. She's going for the submission hold. It's too high up, though. It's up around like the nose, the eyes of Valentina. She's not on the throat. There we go. Okay, that's at least on the chin. More rear naked choke attempts. Valentina fighting it off well. Tyler covering the mouth, trying to impact the breathing. There's the rear naked attempt there. It's more on the chin again. You're trying to break the chin as opposed to getting the choke, which I don't think is really going to happen. I don't think you can chin choke Valentina very well. There's just too much insanity to her to block out the pain. Back strike there by Valentina. Not much there. A couple more. Again, I don't think that these count for anything. I really don't. You've got someone on your back and you're punching up over your own head to try to hit them. It's not going. It's not impactful. It's there as a distraction to open up escapes in other ways. Unless you're someone like I don't know, like I think anyone who has like the powerful enough build to actually hurt someone like that are the people who like don't have the flexibility to punch backwards like that, like a Brock Lesnar or a Shane Carwin. Submission attempt again by Santos. I still stand by like I have to go with Santos, but admittedly, I will say this. Without the shock value, there's a lot more for Shevchenko there. But she didn't get a lot done on the feet. Like there's not a ton of damage. She wasn't that effective as a striker. Like she did win the striking exchanges, but there's just not really a lot going on there. This fight in general was pretty low output, except for like the fourth round. I checked the numbers. I have to give that to Santos 10-9, but I will say this. I am less anti the scorecard for Valentina there than I was before I did this. So this has been an interesting exercise. So let's check out the second round as we're doing the replays. We're hearing Cormier's thoughts on the matter. So am I thinking the second round is the one where she has a bunch of control, maybe? We'll find out. I still think I'm going to disagree with the 49-46 scorecard. Not per se because of the 4 rounds to Shevchenko, but because it was the third round they gave Santos. Because I think this is the round that is Santos's round, if there is only one round that you give her. So here we go. Missed kick by Shevchenko. Nothing much more there. Little flurry there off the arms. Nothing. Spinning back kick doesn't land again for Valentina. She throws that a lot. There we go. Low kick by Valentina. Okay, she's on the board. She's air quotes winning. Decent right hand there on the step forward. Another rush in. We end up in the clinch. And Santos pushes her back up against the clinch. looking for the takedown, looking to change levels. Valentina's pretty solid there. Santos' wrestling in general doesn't really impress me. She just seems to have really, really strong hips. And that was actually my frustration with this fight, and like kind of my anti-Valentina bias the first time through, was that there is an obvious path to trouble for Valentina, and almost everything else is a winning path, and she's taking the path to trouble. Getting some legs to the knees to the thigh from Santos. I'd say Santos is winning this round on control, basically, because there hasn't really been any striking. There hasn't been any really grappling yet of any real note. Like, it's just been kind of like a control. We're about 90 seconds into the round. Leg trip. And there's the takedown. So Valentina gets full guard. Lands a couple of rabbit punches. She's punching around again. But again, I don't rate these as particularly significant. I really don't. Santos trying to pass the guard. Push up, trying to get a calf shield there from Valentina. Looks like she's maybe thinking about like an armbar or triangle, but she hasn't really committed to it yet. Another punch from the back there from Valentina. Little bit of ground and pound from Santos. Nothing significant. Santos's advantage here is essentially that nothing much has happened. There's the Goga Plata attempt. That was pretty cool, but Santos neutralizes that pretty quickly. Still in Valentina's guard. Are they saying that Nick Diaz go-go'd Akihiro Gono? I missed that live. It's Gomi. There we go. Okay, so Bisping did correct himself. Okay. There you go. Although, I mean, it would be a very Gono thing to lose by Goga Plata. Not much happening. More or less neutralized. Some hand fighting. Little bit of strikes both ways, but nothing that like really changes the impact of the round so far. Another warning from Herzog. I don't know what Herzog's warning about, to be honest. I haven't really seen anything. Is there like a glove grab or something going on? I don't know. Shevchenko's again kind of seems again to be thinking about it. Okay, stand up. So I guess just inactivity. Okay. Okay. So Santos did not do much, but again, Shevchenko also has not done much this round. There's no significant damage either way. There's no real significant striking going either way. I would say maybe Shevchenko has like a sig strike landed. Santos has to take down the cop control. Body kick by Shevchenko. That's probably the best thing that's been landed this round. Russian. Head and arm throw by Valentina. She ends up on top. Tries to go for back control. Santos scrambles to the top. There was an armbar threat there for a second. Not really close. Santos is on top again. Not much going on again from the top position. Again, they're trading some strikes on bottom and top, but there's not much going on. This has been really interesting, actually, because I mean, I can really actually see how Shevchenko won these 2 rounds now. I still think we got 10 seconds left, but I don't think anything's really going to happen. I still think Santos is up 20-18 at this point because there hasn't been any significant damage or any real significant striking success in either of these rounds. And therefore, you kind of have to go with the grappling thing. And people don't want to score top control. I get it. It's boring. I get it. But to those people, I kind of wonder if you've ever been in a really crushing situation where someone's on top of you who's really, really good and putting their weight and their force on you. Because I think that kind of experience would actually really help because it sucks. It really does. Like, I mean, get someone who's like a jiu-jitsu, like purple belt or better to like apply like just crushing top control to you. It sucks. It is significant. So I have that to Santos, but to be honest, this has been very interesting because I'm a lot less certain that Santos won those first 2 rounds now, but I still think she did. I think it's because Shevchenko's just not doing much on the feet. Like, she's doing cool stuff. Like, she had that Superman punch in the first round. She's had a spinning back kick in both rounds, but those didn't land. Like, that's the important thing, is those didn't land. So they're, from a scoring standpoint, completely useless. Like, they're cool, creative things, but they're not effective. Leg kick by Shevchenko to open up the 3rd round. And here's where they forgot the mouthpiece. This was amateur hour from the Santos corner. All right, mouthpiece is in. We resume with 4:50 on the clock. Another low kick by Shevchenko, so that's 2. Jab there that didn't really land. Rush forward by Santos, nothing significant landing there. Attempted counter by Shevchenko. Body kick by Shevchenko. Low kick by Santos. So really, we just got low kicks going on here right now. Not much going on. Another low kick by more of a thrusting push kick there by Santos. Another one to the body. Shevchenko throwing again, but I couldn't really make out if that one landed. The reaction was wrong. And the camera angle didn't help me out. Swinging kick by Santos. Low kick landed by Shevchenko. Again, mostly a low kicking affair. So far, we're only like a minute in. Spinning thrust kick to the body by Shevchenko. Didn't really land clean, but that is the most significant thing that's happened. Probably of the fight, from a striking standpoint. Another low kick by Shevchenko. She's still looking to counter a lot. Another low kick. There was a quick, little rush there that didn't really achieve much. Body lock by Shevchenko. She gets a takedown. Santos quickly scrambles back to her feet. I have Shevchenko winning the round so far. We're 2 minutes in. But again, there's not a lot of volume and there's not a lot of impact to the strikes. It's mostly low kicks. Quick punching exchange there, as well as a low kick by Shevchenko. Low kick by Santos. Another low kick by Santos. That kind of John Jones thrusting kick to the calf. Blocked punch there for Shevchenko. Low kick that didn't really connect. I think maybe the toes got the thigh, but that's about it from Valentina. They clinch up again. Valentina's again looking for a head and arm throw, I think. She gets backed up into the cage by Santos. Still fighting up against the cage. Shevchenko is landing some stuff again, like the little hammer fist to the side of the head. Again, not super effective, not super impactful. But it is something. And since Santos has still not gotten a takedown at this point, this is Valentina's round. There's a takedown. Immediate to back control. Minute 43 to go in the 3rd round. Santos looking for back control. Kind of sliding off, though, to the side. She can still get this, though. Still on the back. Getting stacked against the cage, though. Looking for the rear naked choke, but nothing significant going on yet. Looking maybe for an arm. Nothing significant happening there either, though. There we go. Okay. That's on the chin. Got a rear naked choke on the chin for Santos. Arm, body triangle as well. That sucks. Anyone who's ever been in a body triangle, that does suck really bad. Sucks all the air out of you. But the rear naked choke danger is cleared. Shevchenko fights her way out with about 40 seconds to go. Again, slides the arm under, trying to get the job done again. Throwing punches over her head again. Particularly from this position, they're up against the cage, kind of back. Santos' back is against the cage. There's the rear naked choke attempt again. Again, it's not under the chin. You're just choking. You're just going for the pain of the chin choke, so to speak. There, and there's the bell. Again, I have it 30-27 Santos. Shevchenko is winning what is taking place at range, but there's just not much there. There's not a lot of volume. There's not a lot of impact. She's doing cool things that are not really landing. And I think you have to score this like a grappling match right now, because that is what presents the damage. At this point, this is where Santos's eye is starting to swell up. I think the clash of headbutts or the clash of heads, either another clash of heads or the big one happened in this round. They show the replay in the fourth round of the clash of heads. And I think it's supposed to be from that round, but I think it's already happened at this point because the eye looks fucked up. Like, it looks jacked up, and there's nothing that Shevchenko has landed at range that would explain that. Like, there's no significant strike that would explain the eye swelling. Yeah, oh lord, that is swollen. It's going to get worse, but it is already very, very swollen. Now, I have heard via social media confirmation on the Santos corner that she did break her orbital bone. I think that's happened at this point. Open up with a little feeling out. Actually, a decent little combination there by Santos. She landed a good little two-piece. Then eats a body kick from Shevchenko, though. So Valentina with a body kick to Santos' nice little 1-2. Kick upstairs from Santos that did not land. Attempted overhand there by Shevchenko or Valentina that did not land. I'm just going to go with Valentina. I don't know why Shevchenko feels kind of like unnatural. A body kick, head kick there for Valentina. This is where they call that it was a groin kick, that body kick. I actually want to rewind here. This is going to throw off your timing at home. Let's see. Is this a low blow? Yes. Okay, that is a low blow. So technically speaking, the head kick shouldn't have even landed because it was the ref was coming in to stop it for the low blow. So that's a bit of a weird one. Like, I can't remove that from my... And this is where they start talking about the clash of heads. But to be honest, like, it definitely didn't occur in this round. It definitely occurred in the third round. Hang on, I'm going to go back to the start of this round. I want to see this. Like, does the clash of heads happen in the fourth round? Okay, so we're starting again. Action's on. 5 minutes to go in the fourth round. Okay, here we go. I'm looking for the head clash. If it happened here, did it happen in the third? It could have happened there. Like, there's a brief exchange where Valentina wings a punch and her head comes in. And then there's another one in that 1-2. But it doesn't look like what they show on the replay. And again, she's already swelling up. So I think it happened in the third round. Let's get the replay of the clash of heads here. We're up to we got the body kick coming up here, the low blow. Boom, at 4:20 in of the fourth round. Then the high kick. Okay. So we got the low blow. Yeah, he's definitely he's definitely calling it for a low blow. Like, this is definitely not a break for that clash of heads. But where does this clash of heads actually occur? That is the question. They're showing the clash of heads is when Valentina misses a punch behind her head and Santos kind of just following through, ends up headbutting her. That doesn't look like anything that's happened in the 4th round, so I think that was from the 3rd. Good punch landed by Shevchenko with the right hand. Goes upstairs. There's not going to be much scoring here. I don't think there's really any controversy that Shevchenko takes the 4th and the 5th round. I think those are the least 2 controversial rounds of the fight. 1, 2, and 3 are very similar though, so it's hard to see how it's really hard to see how you're not like almost giving them all to Shevchenko if you're just completely ignoring the grappling success that Santos has. It's a bit weird. Body kick by Valentina. She's been landing a little bit here and there. Still not very high. Like, I would have really liked to see her step it up here. You got an opponent who is half blind. There we go. Good flurry. Santos landed an uppercut in there. But otherwise, lost that flurry. Like, you got a half blind opponent who you've been able to outstrike pretty much the whole time. Body kick from Valentina. It feels like this really should have been a much step up point here to try to take this out of the judges' hands effectively. Low kick by Santos. It's about the only thing she's landed without getting hit in return this round so far. I think she's honestly just like reliant on Valentina engaging so she knows she's in range. That was just some awkward feinting going on there. Body kick or low kick by Santos. Again, a lot of hitting at air. Like, for as good of a striker as I know Valentina to be, there's a lot of air shots going on in this fight. She did it there with a Superman punch and then like push kick to the body, both of which did not land. There we go. Good little flurry there. Goes upstairs with a head kick by Valentina. More of that would have probably like. I guess my what is playing a role in my frustration is that Valentina should be winning this fight and isn't, whereas Santos is doing the best she can do, and it almost feels like that should be rewarded. But I still also do think she won the first 3 rounds. I think the grappling was the biggest exchanges. Santos goes for like a stomp kick. Valentina gets a little flurry in. Another low kick by Santos. Another low kick by Santos. A lot of low kicks. Valentina comes forward again. Lands a good right hand. Push kick to the body by Santos. Another low kick that doesn't really solidly connect by Santos. I need a sip of water. A little flurry up against the cage there by Valentina. Santos landed in that, but Valentina is winning these flurries. Another flurry with a body shot there by Santos. That was pretty nice. Low kick by Santos. Less than a minute left in the first round. This was the most active round of the fight. I think they landed something like 50 strikes between them. 50 some odd strikes, but like under 30. Or under 60, I should say. Under 30 apiece. Yeah, like this round is Valentina's. Like, it helps. It obviously helps that like this round has been all striking. And it's simply Valentina's strikes are a little cleaner and a little bit more coming. Takedown at the end there by Santos. I don't think that does anything score-wise. So if I recall correctly, she's stuck in half guard here. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, no, that doesn't do anything. So Valentina took the. So I have it 39-37 in Santos at this point. I still don't get how the 3rd round could be her only one. We're gonna look at the stats after this and see if I can maybe seeing it in number form would lead me there. But like, it really does feel like if Santos won just 1 round, it's the 2nd round, not the 3rd round. I think the 3rd round is her least convincing of her 3 rounds. Because I think, in a nutshell, Valentina did the most in the third round. She did very, very little in the first and the second round. And essentially the argument for Santos winning all three of those rounds is kind of the same. Back control, takedown, clinch work. But like Valentina got the most done in the third round. So I kind of disagree with that. Like, here's where the doctor comes in. This doctor really didn't stop this fight. I was surprised it went so quickly. I thought that was definitely going to be a moment. All right, so 5th round. Here we go. Valentina versus Santos for the title. Low kick by Santos. Big right hand there that whiffs by Valentina, followed by a left-hander, which also more or less whiffs. Oh, is she fighting southpaw? She is fighting southpaw right now. So pardon me. Reverse that. Big left hand followed by big right hand. Little bit of a flurry there. Nothing really significant landing. Santos with the low kick again. Body kick by Valentina. That had good contact. A lot of faking. Excuse me. Really yawned there. My brain is like, we can't watch this fight two times in 2 days, my friend. Like, you're asking me to do too much. There's the takedown by Shevchenko or Valentina with the head and arm throw again. But Santos is getting on top. Santos landing some ground and pound, not much. Cage grab there. Valentina pushes off the cage. Santos scrambling to the back position again. Choking the... again, trying to choke the chin. Not working. Not even locked in. Here we go. I think this is where Valentina escapes. Maybe not. There we go. Okay, she is out now. Okay. So she's out with about 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the round. Kick by Santos to the leg. Shevchenko or Valentina responds in kind. Good little flurry there. Nice 3-piece combo by Valentina. Kick to the knee by Santos. Another low kick by Valentina to counter Santos' own attempt. Santos with a leg kick. Leg kick by Valentina. Leg kick by Santos. Shot takedown by Valentina. She ends up on top. At least for now. This was a bad idea, I think, though. I think at this point you should have been thinking about a submission or about a finish. And that finish is much more likely to come on the feet. Trying to get past guard. Cormier talking nonsense about Santos being happy to be in the guard here. I don't think so. I think the only place she feels comfortable fighting Valentina is when she has her back. Not much more than a smother going on here for Valentina. But at the same time, like, she won the stand-up phase of this round. She's, I would say, probably slightly behind on the grappling if we're scoring like a grappling fight because Santos had back control. Santos and Valentina hasn't had a dominant position. But she's getting more done here. Like, she's landing the best ground and pound of the fight right now. Although, that's not saying much. That's faint praise. She's kind of looking for maybe like an arm triangle, but like she's still in half guard. She hasn't committed to it yet. They're both kind of punching each other in the body. Valentina's are more effective. She's on top. She can get the leverage into it. Less than a minute to go in the fight. Santos tries to exploit out, but it ends up just getting her guard past. Side control. Gets back to half guard, though. Elbows from bottom by Santos, but like I more or less ignored Shevchenko's strikes from bottom. It's kind of the same thing. It's not that you can't win by strikes from bottom, but they have to be paired with something. Like people use the Boss Rutan example of winning against Kevin Randleman with strikes from his back. We forget that during what stand-up there was, Rutan was also winning that. Also, I was ages and ages ago. So yeah, I give the 5th round to Valentina. I give the 4th round to Valentina. I don't see how you can give it the 4th round to anything but Valentina. But I gave the first 3 to Santos. Through this rewatch, I am less angry about the decision. So I guess it did that because without the shock value of Santos doing to Valentina what we've never seen done before, there is a little bit more semblance of competitiveness. That there wasn't as much control time as I remembered. I think that Santos probably very much has to. You have to give Santos the 2nd round. I think I'm looking at the fight stats now. 6 strikes were 7-4 for Valentina in the 2nd round, and Santos had 3 minutes and 40 seconds of control time. Granted, the total strikes were 64-31, but most of that was from bottom. I don't really regard those. They're not 6 strikes according to UFC definition. They're not 6 strikes according to my definition. And also, I mean, I'm also ignoring like a lot of Santos's like pitter patter stuff because she apparently landed a bunch of that too. Like I have no problem with the 3rd round going to Valentina. Apparently, she outlanded her 6 strikes 17-7. Total strikes 46-10, and that could carry the round. That could legitimately carry the round, and thus the fight. But I don't really see how. Like again, the problem here with I think it was Werner Clements or Clements Werner, pardon me, who scored this fight was that he gave the 3rd round to Santos and all the other rounds to Valentina. That is a bullshit card. I am actually looking at the stats now. I don't really get Howard Hughes' either. Because while Howard Hughes has a 48-47 Valentina card, he gave the 2nd round to Valentina. This is very weird because the 2nd round, according to fight stats, this was the round that she landed the most in. But she landed the fewest SIG strikes of the fight in that round and was controlled for almost 4 minutes. I don't know. I still dislike all but the Talia card. Not so much because Valentina has to win this fight, but because, simply put, the other 2 cards don't really feel right. They don't use the 3rd round to justify the fight for Valentina. They use the 2nd, and in the case of Clements, the 1st, which I think is very bizarre. So anyways, that's enough about that fight. Valentina will fight whoever they put up against the title, or she talked about going up to bantamweight. I don't think this is the fight you want to go for like a super fight thing with after, because this was a bad fight. Like, whether you think that Valentina won or you think that Valentina lost, it was a bad fight because she showed terrible decision making. She showed really, I guess terrible decision making in that show. And she also showed maybe some flaws in her grappling and never really started to really dominate on the feet like she should have, because you have a half-blind opponent for 2 rounds, at least, and you do very, very little with it. It's kind of horrifying. I'm not going to talk about Santos' next fight because apparently she could be banged up after this fight, like broken orbital. That's going to be a long time recovery. So I don't really think that there's anything really to talk about of her future. She could totally go for a rematch, though. Zhang Weilei defeating Joanna Jacek, or Weilei Zhang, whichever version you want to use. Spinning backfist knockout. That was really, really cool. Very cool. Very, very cool. Apparently number 39 on the best knockout of the year list, according to Topology. I don't have much to say. At the start, Joanna was looking good. She came out. She looked like she had found some good rhythm on the feet. Won the first maybe one or two exchanges, but then Zhang turned on the wrestling and more or less made it into a grappling fest, which she did win. She maintained top position. She did her job, and then she knocked her out. And there's not a ton more to say. Zhang looked very good. You'll recall, I gave the most unconvincing reasons for picking Joanna for this fight because it kind of boiled down to I really didn't like where Weilei Zhang's headspace appeared to be in regards to losing to Thug Rose. And with Thug Rose's fight with Carla Esparza, maybe I'm transposing Thug Rose's tendencies onto other fighters or something. I don't know. Maybe. I definitely read too much into it because Weilei Zhang came out here with a great game plan, I think. A great pressuring game plan that utilized her wrestling and took away Joanna's best weapons, which is her striking, and got the job done. And I think she'll fight for the title. Now, there has been some controversy about her getting a title shot off of essentially a 1-2 streak over her last 3 fights. And I don't think it's really necessarily a problem because here's my take. As I take a drink here, I think it's important to realize that Carla's not a draw. She just had a tremendously bad fight with Thug Rose, which I think I've been very, very clear about this. I fault Thug more than Carla for this, but it's going to taint Carla's first title defense in a significant way. You need an A side. And the only person, the fresh blood contender, so to speak, is Marina Rodriguez. And here's the problem. Rodriguez has a big win. It's over Mackenzie Dern. But she also lost to Carla Esparza in a fight that was very ho-hum. So I don't think you go that route. I don't think it's possible. I think had Thug Rose won, either just in the way that the fight went with Carla or had actually been impressive, we could have got some fresh meat at the strawweight division. But I think where they are now is they are pretty much stuck with, Weilei Zhang now or Joanna going for the belt and recycling contenders because that's going to bring fans. It may not be super sporting to give her the title shot, given that she's not had a lot of wins lately. Again, 1-2 in her last 3. But this is also an entertainment business. You have to come up with a fight that's going to make sense from a money standpoint. And this is the fight that makes sense from the money standpoint. Now, people have said that their mismanagement of the division is why they have so few relevant contenders that might be able to draw butts in the seats, eyeballs on the TV. And that is completely correct. But that's also it's kind of one of those things we need the UFC to stop systematically under promoting divisions to fix that. It's not like giving Marina Rodriguez a title shot is going to fix that. It's something that has to happen more repetitively and long term. But anyways, that was my thoughts on that one. And then Joanna retired at the end. I hope she stays retired, not because I wouldn't enjoy seeing her fight again, but because anytime a fighter retires, I do want them to stay retired because some part of you wants to move on. And if you're not 100% in the fight game, it's not going to be good for your health. It's not going to be good for the fans. And I think that's really all there is to it. I think there are exceptions to that rule. I think when Randy Couture came back, for example, he was 100% in. So if Joanna comes back and she's 100% in, sure, that could be cool. But I don't really want to see her come back if that's not the case. Jake Matthews, Andre Fiel. This was I picked Matthews, but like I'm not going to crow about it because, to be honest, I thought that Jake Matthews would win the fight through kind of a pressure boxing and wrestling game, and he didn't. He actually fought this largely off the back foot, landed a lot of strikes, looked very quick, and kind of honestly picked Fiallo apart. I mean, like Fiallo was starting to get something going towards the end, but like his Matthews's lateral movement just seemed to have him completely befuddled, and it was weird to watch. It was very bizarre because, and again, I say this as someone who picked Matthews. I didn't think that fight was going to go down that way. Like in no way was I like thinking, you know what, Jake Matthews is going to show off like this masterful ring craft and this domination of footwork. I didn't think that was going to happen, and it did, and I'm stunned. The It was a bright night for Australian mixed martial arts for this one because I mean Josh Kulabau, who we're going to talk about in a bit, he had a fantastic performance as well, and Jack Della Maddalena, who we're going to talk about, did super well. For the next fight, for some reason I have a weird fascination with the idea of like seeing Jake Matthews fight Alex Morono. I don't know if anyone's there with me, but like I don't know. I think that would be a weird, fun, interesting fight. And for Fiallo, I have Matt Semmelsberger penciled in because I think that he probably won't fall that far down the list because he did have the win over Baeza and Van Camp before this, and they seemed like very interested in pushing him. And that also, like, you know, the fan reaction was there as well. Like they thought a lot of fans thought this was going to be an easy fight for him, which I didn't agree with. But it definitely didn't end up being the case. But I would think that he still has some notoriety. And Semmelsberger's the good kind of like action fighter that admittedly replicates some of the problems he had here, gives him a chance to like show if he can answer those questions the second time around, and while still being a really good fight. And then we had Jack Della Maddalena versus Ramazan Ameev. I didn't like this fight when it was made. I still really don't like this fight. The interesting facts are Ameev clearly burned himself or something on his side, and eventually got dropped by body shots. I don't remember if they hit him on the burnt side or not. So that would be intriguing to know. Good signs for Jack. He survived a really tough submission attempt by Ramazan Ameev. He went to the ground. He survived. He looks like he has good basic grappling defensive instincts, and his stand up still looks very good. He throws very well in combination. He's got good power. He's got good form. He varies up his targets. He is honestly like one of the better boxing first prospects we've seen in a while, but there's not a lot of leg involvement, and I still don't know what he's like as a grappler or as a wrestler. So there's still a ton of questions for him. I don't really have an opponent I want to see him against particularly, just someone who's going to properly test him, because he's fought Rodriguez, who just isn't UFC caliber, and he's fought a guy who, well, he's got a pretty decent record in the UFC, is like really predictable and doesn't really present a well-rounded threat or like a multifaceted threat. So I still don't know what to make of him. And he's 2-0 in the UFC with 2 finishes. I know I want him to be good, but I don't know if I think he is. And I don't really care what to do with Ameev. I don't want to see him get like cut or anything. Like that'd be ridiculous. He's done well, but he's not a prospect. He's not a super interesting fighter. He's there to like kind of just like test other prospects, and that's probably what they'll keep doing with him. Then we had Kulabau versus Korean Sting Suhu Choi. This was a good fight. I enjoyed it. Kulabau looked very fast, which was bizarre. I thought this was very impressive. He beat Choi at his own game. And I could not have been more wrong about this fight because I thought that frankly he wouldn't have the speed, and I thought that he would have to leave himself open to counters. And while he did eat a couple of counters, he did an incredibly good job of doing it and definitely showed off the speed. And I do wonder, like, is this an ascension of Josh Kulabau? And if it is, I'm 100% here for it because I do, as I said in my predictions, I really like Josh Kulabau. He has all the, and this is the thing, like, if there is like good speed there, my lord, a man with his work rate, his ability to game plan, his ability to find holes, and his technical well-roundedness, it's actually legitimately scary in the weight class. So go, 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 go. And I have here Daniel Pineda. It would be a great fight for him. And as for Korean Sting, I put Steven Peterson in here, but I honestly can't recall what the reasoning was particularly. I think he's an interesting prospect, but it does seem like he's a little bit stalled right now. Maybe needs a change of scenery. Like, I hate to tell people to move camps as if it's a magic bullet, but it just seems like he's a little bit too predictable, and it's showing against fighters that that have good game plans. And then we had Machete knock out Steve Garcia. I don't have a ton more to add, really. Garcia looked like the wild mess that he is, and Machete does look like he has legitimate power and some legitimate striking technique. I still worry about the whole package. I still worry about his ability to pace himself, but he's also a very big lightweight, so he's got size, he's got some striking technique, he's got power, and he's a really, really interesting prospect. And I would like to see him get a proper test because, as I said in my prediction video, even though I took Steve Garcia, it was largely a lot of negativity about Steve Garcia, like that he's not really UFC caliber, and that more or less sums up what I thought about this. Brendan Allen defeated Jacob Malkoun in a fight where he definitely won the fight, but it sucked, and the less said about it, the better. I would kind of like to see Allen face the loser of the Darren Till Jack Hermanson fight. That could be interesting. And I don't have a big preference on Malkoun. I like Malkoun. He's a cool dude, but he's kind of the book is kind of written on him as a fighter. It's not super exciting. It's not super testing necessarily. So, he'll get a fight. He should get a fight. I just don't really care who he's against. Kwai Ko Kang defeated Danan Bachirel or Bachiri. Not a ton to say about this fight. I thought Kong did win the fight, but at the same time, this is my frustration with Kong. You have a good wrestling game, a good takedown game, a good grappling game, and you elect to kickbox the entire time with a guy who realistically just pocket boxes. So to me, that was it was frustrating while still fun. For Kong, I would love to see Kong fight Jonathan Martinez. Am I alone in that? Am I the only one calling for that fight? And for Batjarel, I did see Randy Costa was still listed on the roster. I don't know if he still is, but I think that would be a fun fight. And this one had, I think, the first one of Anthony Dimitriou's cards we're going to talk about. Oh, wait, no, he's... Okay, quick, back it up 2 fights. Anthony Dimitriou, who started off weird with scoring a fight we're going to talk about later, Pasquale Edwards, 30-27, which I really don't agree with. Somehow scored the Kulabao Choi fight for Korean Sting. It is the most ridiculous split decision we've had in a long time. And he also kind of messed this one up too, I think, because let me see here. Batchery probably won the first round because he hurt Kong in it. Dimitriou gave Kong the first round and gave Batchery the second round, which makes absolutely no sense. So let's quickly look at the stats here because we're going to use the stats. Now, Batchery outlanded Kong in both the first and the second round. So if you're going on pure volume, I guess you could give him both rounds. But Kong landed way cleaner stuff in both of those rounds. And it was way closer. It was a total strike difference of 7 strikes in the first round, as opposed to 10 in the second round. And he hurt Kong in the first round. So, I guess if you're giving volume striking and that's all you're looking at, Batchery won both rounds. But if we're in this damage-focused society, or at least when it comes to fighting. If Batchery won one of the 2 rounds, he won the first round because he hurt Kong in the first round. He didn't hurt Kong in the second round. Anyways, that was like the most minor debate that we're gonna have about him. But yeah, the Kulabao card that he turned in for Korean Sting. The fuck? I don't have much to say about Silvana Gomez Juarez defeating Nan Liang. Liang, not UFC caliber. I picked her because she probably was going to get an armbar over Gomez Juarez, and we just didn't get there. So I don't know. Like, Gomez Juarez is in the exact same boat that I was in before with her, where someone said that she just came too late. I don't agree with that necessarily because, like, don't get me wrong. I think if you're in women's MMA and you came in the Ronda Rousey era, where like there was the beginnings of money and the talent pool was super thin, obviously you would be better off. But there's nothing specific about Silvana Gomez Juarez that really does that, because I think her problem would still have been capitalized on, which is you've got a good striking game, you're a power striker, you're fairly athletic, fairly hard to take down, but you just have terrible, terrible grappling instincts. Until I see that otherwise, that really caps her for me. I would kind of like to see her fight Pierre Rodriguez, though. That could be fun. And then for Liang, honestly, she's probably going to get cut. I think she's 0-2 in the UFC, and neither loss has been super competitive. Let me just verify that real quick. Yeah, she got more or less destroyed by Ariane Carnelosi, and now this. And neither of those are bad losses, but I don't really know who she beats in the division outside of just randomly catching a submission hold. And this was the fight that felt like the most likely to produce that opportunity, and she couldn't do that. And then we had the opener, which was Jocelyn Edwards versus Romana Pascual. I really like where Edwards is going, but I also think it's going to take a little bit to get there, because in this fight, she was much more mindful of takedowns and clinches than she has been in the past. But that came with a hesitancy on the feet that obviously she's going to have to get over, because if she fights somebody who's going to turn up the pace and actually bring a lot of questions to her, it's not going to work. And Pascual just didn't really ask those questions. She seemed bizarrely content to hang around at range. When she did come forward, she had some success. She had Edwards hurt in the first round, which is the round I gave her, and that Anthony Demetriou apparently didn't. But I gave Edwards second and third, just from cleaner striking, volume striking, etc. If we look up the stats here real quick. Yeah, she outland. They were really trying to make a big deal about like Pascual winning the second round. It was a round in which she got outlanded 42-18. And don't get me wrong, to be clear, a lot of Edwards' landing was not viable volume. It was a lot of like the gentlest low kicks you've ever seen, and not in any way impressive. But when you yourself are not landing anything terribly significant, and you're being outlanded at a 4-1 clip anyways, I don't really know how you're going to win. And there wasn't any really like grappling even to justify it. She had like 20 seconds of control. And then, yeah, the third round was very, very, very much for Edwards. So I like what King's MMA is doing with her. I do like what Syndicate MMA is doing with Pascual. But Pascual is just, I hate to say it, because like I saw a couple interviews with her and she just does seem like such a great person. But the fighting's, I don't know if the physicality or the skills are there. And that's kind of it. So yeah, that's the fight card. Controversial decision, good fights, couple of knockouts. What's not to love? Let me know if you like the whole watch back of the fight here. I don't think it's something I would do like on a regular basis or anything, and it really took a toll on my throat here. Ooh. Losing my voice, but when it comes to like a controversial decision, I don't know. Maybe it's super fun, and it was eye opening. It was like there was some legitimate changes of my perception that I went through, even though I still ended up scoring the fight the same. But like I have a lot more understanding of people who were more in the Valentina camp here. Even though I still think that from a fight standpoint, it was a terrible fight for her, and it showed up just a complete lack of solid decision making and fight IQ inside the fight itself. But anyways, that's it. See you next time. What is next time? Let's have a look. See here. Let's have a quick look. So next fight card, Josh Emmett versus Calvin Kattar. That's a good fight. And there's some other good stuff on there. Tim Means versus Kevin Holland. Donald Cerrone and Joe Lozon's retirement fights. Joaquin Buckley versus Albert Duraev. That's a good fight. This is the one that has the super weird, like, second fight on the night is Kyle Dalkaus versus Roman Dolidze for some reason. And Phil Haas versus Jerron Wynn's going to open it up. And Cody Saman and Eddie Wineland. But the first three fights are, like, so important. And then you've got, like, stuff like Gloria DePaula versus Maria Oliveira and Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Natalie Silva, or Natalia Silva higher up on the card. That doesn't really make any sense. And of course, we get the bizarrely now very popular fight between Adrian Yanez and Tony Kelly. So that's going to be some fun social media leading up to that fight. So I hope you enjoyed this card. And to be honest, if you didn't enjoy this card, I have questions for you, and we'll leave it at that. Check out the Discord, check out the Twitter, check out the YouTube. Links are in the description below, wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast.